Well, I'm glad first we get a chance to meet today and visit and answer your questions. But it's obvious that Ashton Dorsey decided to transfer on Tuesday. We met with him and felt like that it was mutual, that best for him that he get a new start somewhere else, and we're trying to help him go to the place that he wants to go and give him an unconditional release and get him to move forward. Since he was hurt a lot of camp, it forced us to get Alex Norman and Hassan Ridgway and Paul Boyette more ready to play. So we've got 3 older guys in that position right now, but the 3 younger ones need to step up and play Saturday night, and we've prepared for that since we weren't sure whether Ashton would be healthy enough Saturday night to play or not. So it's not like that we're not prepared, because we had to prepare anyway. Other questions?
So I know that the receiving core was your biggest concern Monday pre-Dorsey transferring. Is the D-line depth, is that right up there now, or like you say, you're not ready for it?
No, we've got 3 guys that have played a lot. When you start looking at Mack Brown, Chris Whaley, and Desmond Jackson, and then Hassan was doing really well before he got hurt. He pulled a hamstring, he missed 4 or 5 days, and he's come back and had a really good last couple of days, so we feel like he can play Saturday night. Alex Norman stayed healthy and he's done well, and Paul Boyette still fights to come on, so we've got more depth there than we've had probably most of the last 3 years. Receivers yesterday, Jackson Shipley and Marcus Johnson both practiced. They were limited some, so we'll have to watch them today again. They did not have more soreness today than they had yesterday, so that was good. They felt good coming out of practice, so we'll press them a little bit harder today, get them in more competition, and we probably won't know for sure how they'll do until Saturday morning. The trainers usually work them out a little bit that morning to see how they're going to do around game time.
You were talking about Jonathan keeping the job a while. You mentioned the 4th down play. I was trying to remember, was that a wild play?
Yes. If you go back, yes, if you go back and look at it, it was a 4th down and 2, and they called timeout as Jonathan went on the field. He was about ready to get the snap. They called timeout. We huddled up. We ran the play again. It was 4th and 2, and he made a great cut outside and made about 3 or 4.
Can Ashton Dorsey play immediately wherever he goes?
It depends. If he goes to 1A, he cannot. If he goes to 1AA, he can play immediately. If you go up, you can play immediately from down to up. If you go from up to down, you can play. You can't stay up and play up.
And he hasn't decided yet?
I haven't talked to him today. I think Arthur's meeting with him today.
Mack, with those 3 young guys you mentioned, will one of them eventually step up and be part of the 4-man rotation, or do you plan to play all 3 of them?
Michael, we're planning on playing at least Hassan and Alex Norman tomorrow night. I mean Saturday night for sure, and Paul may get some, but right now I would say probably Hassan's the first guy to go in. But we're planning on playing a lot of players. We discussed it again this morning in our staff meeting, and we want to play 20-something guys on defense the first half.
Any other freshmen other than the ones you have on the depth chart Monday figure to see action?
No, I don't think so. And we hold the right to some of those receivers go in if everybody gets hurt. I mean, we don't know. When Jackson hasn't practiced a lot, Marcus Johnson hasn't practiced a lot, and if you're in an up-tempo situation, they could get tired fast, so that would be the reason. We'll have them on the sideline. We'll have them ready to go. We also are going to have an emergency plan for Duke Thomas, so if we had to move him over, if we had too many receivers hurt till we get everybody back, because he worked there 5 days in the spring. So we'll work him there a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow and get him ready to tune some things up if we had to.
Are there any of the freshmen on special teams that you already know they're going to play?
No.
We got to talk to DeJay for the first time yesterday. He mentioned to Tavon Austin as a guy he'd like to be like. Do you see him eventually in a role similar to that?
I would like that. That would be good. I don't think we can compare yet. Yeah. But I would like that. I saw Austin the other night on the pros, and he looked the same. They were missing tackles like all of us missed tackles against him, so he's really good. But we do want to get him in a similar role. We want to have him some at tailback, have him some in space, because he's strong. He's a high school running back. He's got great speed. So he can make those space plays in this league that Austin made against all of us last year.
Harrison's practiced 2 days in pads, count a day or one?
He's only had one in pads, so he's had 5 practices, and you have to go short, shells, pads, and yesterday was his pads. And it's not, you can't count 2-a-days, it's per day that you have to do that. So he couldn't catch up as fast as we wanted, and he's doing okay. He's still got to work through some conditioning. He's a little bit lost. He's in the middle of camp where the rest of these guys are fresh and finishing camp and coming out. So he's hit a wall a little bit, but we're still planning on playing him Saturday night.
I know you don't like to see late transfers, but does it speak at all to a bigger talent pool, more competition when you have guys that aren't being able to just settle into starting jobs?
We've got more depth and therefore more competition, and all of them want to play. That's one thing we have. You can run these guys if they get in trouble or late or something. You can run them in the morning and they can run all day. You can have them do up-downs all day, and none of that affects them. But if you take their playing time away, it does affect them, and that's something that has gotten their attention. And this team knows that we've been very, very strict on them. We've been very disciplined with them, and they need to get in bed, and they need to make sure that their legs are fresh, because the way we're running this offense and defense, it makes it very, very hard to be out there if you haven't gotten proper rest or taking care of your body. It's a hard thing to do. So I think our team's in the best condition I've seen them.
Is this a pretty low-key group? I mean, overall, it just kind of seems to be there's not a lot of boisterous type guys on this team.
We were talking about it today. I think it's a team-oriented group. You don't have people talking about themselves. We've had some selfishness and entitlement over the last few years that we fought, and we haven't had discussions about how many times am I going to touch it and how much am I going to play and all those type things. Even our team theme Nate came up with was about togetherness and about team. It wasn't about the individual. So I think when you're talking about 7, 8 defensive backs that can play, 3 or 4 running backs that can play, a couple of quarterbacks that can play, 8 offensive linemen that can play, this bunch is really bought into having a team instead of being about them.
Is that something coaches help, or is it mostly the players passing that on to each other?
Usually older teams that have a goal to pull together for a common purpose like this one does. This team's got a little edge. They know they haven't accomplished what they wanted to accomplish over the last couple of years, this senior class. We still do not have the interdiscipline, in my estimation, that we had with a Brian Arakpo or Roy Miller, where they would threaten to whip one if they didn't act right. But we're getting close to that. The seniors have really stepped up, and we've seen signs. Coaches can only do so much. You can teach them, you can get in the right place, you can discipline them, but you're not on the field with them. When it comes time to play, they got to play. And you're not out with them at night. Somebody got to be out with them. Somebody got to make decisions. Somebody's got to tell the ones that are staying up too late and they're out to get in bed. And we tell them that, but we can't find them all. So it has to be interdiscipline, and we feel like that this bunch has done a much better job than the last 3 teams we've had.
Who is kind of stepping up? So you're close with that interdiscipline. Who would be the guy?
If you start looking at it, David Ash, Malcolm Brown, the tailback, Mason Walters and Trey Hopkins in the offensive line, Donald Hopkins some, probably Greg Daniels is the older tight end, but they've all, MJ McFarland's done everything right and trying really hard, and Jeff Swaim's just new, but he's brought a level of toughness to that position as well. Jackson Shipley and Mike Davis outside, Bryant Jackson and John Harris, because they're older and they bought into being team guys now instead of just being receivers. You start looking at Chris Whaley on the inside, Desmond Jackson. You start looking at Jackson Jeffcoat. You look at Hicks, Jordan Hicks, and then they really have a lot of respect for Adrian Phillips and Carrington Bynum and Quandre Diggs in the back end.
What about vocally? Who would you expect? Maybe Ash, maybe somebody else pre-game to maybe give a speech, get everybody fired up.
Guys like Peter Jenkins, he's giving speeches all the time. Dalton Santos are giving speeches all the time. But I think the guys that we mentioned, Mason will get on them, and Some are quiet leaders, but we've got some vocal guys now that'll step up and talk.
Coach, obviously you want to win the game and stay healthy, but because it's the opener, are there a couple of number of goals you might have in mind, a certain number of offensive plays or number of guys you want to see take the field Saturday night?
Yes, the thing that we've talked about is what we want to see is a team play as hard as they can play. I thought the fourth quarter of the Alamo Bowl was a great indicator of who we would like to be. We're down by 10. We didn't want that to happen, but at that time, with 12 minutes left to go in the game, we dominated the game defensively and offensively and had a really good punt return and kicked the ball out of the back of the end zone on kickoff. So we want to play as hard as we can every play, and if you can't play that hard, get out and we'll put somebody else in your place because we want to play too deep and create depth. We want to play with passion and toughness. And we want to have very, very few mental mistakes because tired teams are the ones that have mental errors, and we don't want to do that. So know what to do it with a passion, do it with toughness, and do it full speed every play, and that's what we've been demanding in practice, and that's what we want to see show up on Saturday night. It's a unique opener, even more than most, because we don't know anything about their offense. We don't know anything about their defense. We've heard a few things, but we don't have a clue about what they're going to do. So we're going to have to go out and get a feel of what's happening in the ball game and then just coach. So we'll have to tell our kids, you have your eyes open and let's figure out who they are in the first quarter and then let's go from there. But they've been really, really quiet with what they're doing with their schemes.
Any update on Tyrone Swoop's availability?
He practiced fine yesterday. We'll have to watch him again today and tomorrow to see if there's a chance he might play on Saturday night. Right now, I would still say it's up in the air.
With the emphasis on tempo and the way you're pushing them harder than you had before, does it change anything with game week as far as tapering them back, holding them back?
We had that discussion this morning too, and we are going to practice in the bubble today, and we'll come out for the last 25 minutes. But we've got to be smart that we are fresh Saturday night and that we don't push them so hard that they're tired and dead-legged. So it'll be a good test today to see how they're doing. With a Saturday night game, you've got from Thursday night till Saturday night off, so that gives them a lot of time. Today's a tough day for kids across the country because they go to class for the first time. So there's more distractions, and that's why we practiced yesterday morning and met last night with them. So we wouldn't have as much to meet with them today before practice. So that gave them a little more free time today.
Changes in the kickers?
No, Anthony Farrell would be the kicker. He would be the punter. Nick Rose would be kicking off. And Nate Boyer right now would be the deep snapper and the short snapper. Cade McCrary would be the holder. We would probably start out today with Michael Thompson and Duke Thomas returning the first kickoff and alternate some guys like DJ in there. And the first punt would probably be caught by Quandre Diggs, and we will have DJ ready to look at that as well.
He looks reliable with his hands. And
he has done a good job. You feel like that you get him in space, he could really do some damage in both of those. We've challenged him. He needs to be a better blocker on the kickoff return if he's the off guy.
Mack, the freshman receivers besides Jacory and the freshman linemen besides Perkins, are they coming along? Do you like what you've seen?
Yes. I think it's a very good class, and it's a small class, but I think all of them should play. There's not a bust in the group short term, and we feel like that we're in better shape with the older offensive linemen. That's the only reason some of these young ones aren't going to play. And at one point we were really good when we could redshirt offensive linemen. So if we can do that helps us here as well for the future.
Has Jacory been maybe a pleasant surprise? He missed a lot of his senior year, and I think he was able to talk about it as much coming in.
Yes, all four of the receivers are good. Jacory he's shown toughness with his sore knee coming in. He's fought through it in camp. He is also playing at a position where we've had some injuries, and he can play in the slot position. And he's got speed, and right now in this league, speed in space is very important. And he's smart. He's shown the ability to catch the ball, even when he was tired. A lot of freshmen hit a wall, and they may come back out of it and be ready to play in the third or fourth week of the season. But preseason camp for freshmen is very, very difficult.
You told us earlier in camp that you've heard from a lot of fans and you sense the excitement. Do you have any message to them going into Saturday? Do you want them to set those expectations as high as many people are?
Yes, the expectations are always high here. I want them to yell, have fun, be loud. And we were 4th in the country in attendance last year. We were one of the schools that increased our attendance last year. But I want them to have fun, enjoy this team. These kids and coaches have worked really hard over the last 2 years to get us back to where we have a chance. We got a better chance than we've had the last 2 years to be really good. And everything's in place now. We got to do it. But we need the fans' help, and they'll do a great job with that. We've got a big yell tonight where all the freshmen come out, and I met with the band and the Cowboys and the Spurs over the last couple of days, and they're all very excited and talking about the Stampede coming down the hill at 2 hours before the game. And I think there's a real excitement about this team and the change in our offense and the hopeful change in our defense. As we've said, last year it was tempo. We needed to slow down the tempo a little bit on defense, and our kicking game's coming together. So we have a chance. Now we got to coach and we got to play. But to this point, we've done everything we can do to get it ready, and now it's ready. We got to go do it.
Mack, I know you've been doing this a long time, and Saturdays, it's a job, but what still excites you about game days for
The thing that would excite me the most, I think, Max, is seeing the improvement. And I see it every day, but I see all the negatives too. And I see part of our team beat the other part of our team every day. And I want to see this offense work. I want to see us run the ball out of spread. I want to see David manage the game like he did the fourth quarter at Oregon State. I want to see a full house excited about this team moving forward. And I want to see our defense tackle better in space. Going back over the notes, we had some bust in our secondary in the opening game last year, and we didn't tackle well, especially in the first half. We let a 5-yard play go 80 yards or something down the field with a missed tackle to start the season. So I went over all those things with the coaches this morning and said, we're not doing that now. We got to get this straight. We only had one. We had 2 interceptions that led to 17 points, so that helped us. We only had 1 turnover on offense, and we had 2 penalties, so it was a clean offensive game to start with. But defensively, we didn't even start it well, and we need to start well on Saturday night defensively.
Mack, the excitement you talk about, you seem to really be selling lately. Is that sort of a conscious thing that you wanted to do, get out front of the season?
I think it's honest. I am excited. I see improvement. I see hope. I've worked as hard as I can possibly work for 3 years to get this team to where it'll get back in the mix. And I'm excited about seeing if we are. I think we are. But we got to play. I mean, you got to do it every week, and you got to so if you sit and say, well, I'm not sure we're very good, they're saying, oh, he's lying. If you say that, boy, I'm worried about this, boy, he's insecure. If you say, boy, I'm excited about this, is he hyping this on purpose to make somebody think he's excited? I really try to say how I feel, and sometimes that doesn't play very well.
You track all of Ash's turnovers in the fall. How many scrimmages, how many turnovers he had?
Major could tell us it wasn't many. He had one bad one in a scrimmage in a 1-minute drill. But I'm not sure, Kirk, that wasn't the only one. He hasn't had a fumble. If there was another interception, it was a tip ball that somebody should have caught. But he's been, is that right, John, I would think? I think 2 and 1 was a tip ball. So he's really taking care of the ball. And that's a huge part of who he is. He's got to excite the team. He's got to make some plays with his feet like he did in San Antonio. And he needs to get it to the right guys. Mike Davis has had a really good camp considering he came in injured and slowed some. He's really come on and really, really done well. DeJay's done really well. All 3 backs have done well. Jalen's come on. He's doing better at the position than we thought at this time. Offensive linemen have been banged up again. We need to get them all back there and get set on what we're doing to make sure we've got continuity in our substitution plan. We'll go over the substitution plan more tomorrow to make sure we're all on the same page. And it's funny, coaches a lot of times will talk about substituting on Thursday and then not be able to do it during the game. I want us to do it. These kids have worked hard. If they're good enough to for us to say on Thursday they should play, we need to put them in a game.
You can watch games Thursday, or you be too busy getting ready?
What I'll do, I'll get home late Thursday night after dinner, and I'll TiVo all the games. I want to see North Carolina and South Carolina, and I usually watch parts of them. I don't get to watch all of them, but then I definitely want to watch Ole Miss Vanderbilt because that's a scouting report game for me, and I'll stay up too late. I'd like to see some of USC Hawaii because I like Norm Chow, and I've known Norm forever, and see how he's doing, but also see where USC is.
Anything
Time
exciting
for
happen
two
on your
last ones,
birthday?
guys.
Anything exciting happen on your birthday? Any exciting phone calls or anything cool?
No, I don't think so. I was trying to think. Got a lot of calls and a lot of people that just touch base, and with Twitter and Facebook and texting now, it's much easier than all phone calls. So that makes it a little more difficult. But it was I had a fun day. It was good yesterday.
Mac, you mentioned before with teams like 07 and 10, you didn't know what you were going to get from week to week in terms of energy and effort. At least through camp, do you feel like this is a team where you'll know week to week what you're going to get?
Yes,
consistency-wise?
there was only one day, and I don't remember when it was. It's been probably 10 days ago, that I thought it fizzled at the end a little bit, and we jumped all over them and ran them afterwards. So we're not putting up with it with any of them, and they understand that. And the thing I like is as we've been as demanding as we can be, they've responded to it and picked it up when we've asked them to. So I would expect this team to play really hard on Saturday night.